they do kind of look at that in a way of saying, hey, look, you already have taken the steps to file a bankruptcy, so you are going to be graded with a much higher caution when you come in.
Yeah.
But it's not.
Definitely looked at as a higher risk.
It's definitely that, but it's not an end all be all, But
no. But you're definitely gonna have some explaining.
Oh yeah, you're gonna have to. It's like going to the principal office. What happened?
Yeah.
Why it happened?
Yeah.
Where were you
You're
at?
gonna have to explain why.
Really?
So,
oh yes,
that
people want to
detail,
know
huh?
because that makes you look like a higher risk, and depending on the type of bankruptcy as well.
Mm-hmm.
So there's two main types of bankruptcies that we want to talk to the listeners about today. And we can probably start. You want to start with Chapter 7?
Yeah, just looking at Chapter 7, guys. When you're looking at filing a bankruptcy, when you file your Chapter 7 bankruptcy, you essentially you walk into your attorney's office and you start having that conversation about, hey, look, this is what's going on. This is where I'm at financially. I'm essentially at my wit's end, and they start giving you the proceedings and saying, okay, look, here are your options, Chapter 7, Chapter whatever. But in the case for today, you're looking at Chapter 7. Essentially, just when you're looking at your Chapter 7 bankruptcy, it is essentially the easiest way, what I call the easiest way, once you start off the process of liquidating your assets and things of that nature, essentially just saying, okay, what can you wipe out on my credit report?
Okay.
What have I been doing over these past 5, 10, 11 years or so? What can you wipe off? Essentially giving me a clean slate and saying, okay, if you start, with your bankruptcy attorney, okay, we're going to start paying these things off, wiping them out, and then you're going to start at essentially ground level, just zero. Start off as if you've never had debt anymore, prior to that date. And once you start doing that, then you'll immediately start seeing the effects of, okay, now these creditors are getting paid, things are essentially getting out of the proceedings of people calling you saying, okay, hey, where's this payment, where's that payment, and you start going down the line of saying, okay, you start kind of seeing the relief. So when you go through that whole process, now starts the repayment process, reestablishing your credit and things of that nature. And so, we always tell people when you file your Chapter 7, you don't necessarily just say, okay, I filed my Chapter 7, I filed my bankruptcy, or whichever chapter you go through it, and you just start saying, okay, I'm going to go buy a bunch of stuff and run it back up.
Right.
That's not what this is.
Okay. So
it's a penalty.
Exactly.
It is a penalty.
So it's not like I just erase all my debt and I'm good.
Actually, no. So I want to be very clear on a Chapter 7 does not wipe debt from your credit report. What it will do is it will zero out your balances, but under the comments, so say for instance, if you have a debt that's involved in a bankruptcy, on your credit report, it will show that account. And it will show a zero balance, which means that creditor can no longer come after you. But in the comments, it will say that account was involved in a bankruptcy, which therefore makes it a negative account. So it doesn't wipe your credit clean. It zeroes out your debt.
Yeah.
So a bankruptcy of any kind, a Chapter 7 or a Chapter 13, it will be detrimental to your credit.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So you will see your credit score.
Oh, it's gonna dip.
It's gonna it'll plunge.
Not in a good way.
Yeah.
Not a good dip.
Yeah.
It's gonna dip in a bad way.
So you'll see the, again going with that, you'll have the debt, so to speak, dropped all the way down.
Yeah.
Your payment history, not your payment history, I'm sorry, but your monthly income, you'll start seeing that reflect because you're not going to be as obligated to pay those monthly debts. So now you're saying, okay, if you're living off of $2,000 a month of discretionary income, you pay, you have your bankruptcy filed and you say, okay, now I have this money, where do I start from here?
Gotcha.
That is the process once you start rebuilding your credit and things of that nature. Because you do have to pay that back. You have payments on those things. It's not just wiping it away and you just walk away scot-free. You do have a payment plan that they structure for you that is affordable to where you can maintain that and make sure that you're
with the Chapter 7, you actually don't make payments towards that bankruptcy. So that's your Chapter 13.
Okay,
on your Chapter 7, it does wipe the debt off, but on a Chapter 7 or a Chapter 13, there's certain debts that are not included, and we're probably going to get into that on the last portion of our talk today. But there's a lot of people that will file bankruptcy to try to get rid of student loans, and you can't discharge student loan debt in a bankruptcy of any kind.
Okay.
So don't allow, because some of these bankruptcy lawyers, they're kind of, you know,
they're after the money.
It's all about the money, and they won't really advise you of what you cannot include in that bankruptcy. Student loan debt is not a type of debt that you can discharge through bankruptcy, because it's a government debt. You owe that to the government. So you can't discharge that through bankruptcy.
And so that's why it's important to always ask questions.
Yes.
Get the best understanding. Before you sign anything, say yes. Make sure you get the best understanding
and do your research
possible.
Because I work in the credit repair space, so I work with people, a lot of people that have bankruptcies, and I hear this story time and time again. Well, the lawyer didn't tell me this. Well, the lawyer didn't tell me that. And you know what? That's a good excuse. But did you ask questions?
You ask the questions?
You have to ask questions. You have to ask, how is this going to affect me long term? So say, for instance, with the Chapter 7, because you don't have to pay any of those debts, and that wipes your debts clean, the qualified debts that can be included in that bankruptcy, it's going to stay on your credit longer. So a Chapter 7 will be a detriment to your credit score a lot longer than a 13. A Chapter 7 will stay on your credit for up to 10 years after the date that you file. That is a very long time.
Yes, it is.
And that's a blemish that stays on your credit, you know, like you said, for those 10 years. And it's always going to just pop up. It never goes away.
It will hinder you.
Absolutely.
Every time you go and apply for a loan, they're going to ask, well, you filed for a bankruptcy.
And they're going to want speaking on the banking side, we're going to want documentation. You know, we're going to want, okay, when did you file? You know, was it discharged? You know, are you out of it? Where are you at within that process? Because just because it shows up, it doesn't say exactly when, you know, when you did it all. You know, so you're going to always have to have that, you know, it's almost like a release paperwork or something.
Okay.
You're always going to have your paperwork to show that, okay, what type of bankruptcy, what are the proceedings, you know, where you at within the whole process and everything. So it's something, again, we want to give you as much, you know, clear information as possible on this to prevent you from doing it, and just understand, if you do have no other choice, this is what you need to look out for.
Right. Yeah. So you only want to file bankruptcy if you do not have a choice. Yeah. And here's a myth buster. I have people say this to me all the time. Well, I filed for bankruptcy, but I didn't finish it. If you file for a bankruptcy, and even if you don't finish it, every time you file for a bankruptcy, it's stuck on your credit report. If you file for a Chapter 7 and you don't finish it, just because you filed, it's going to show that you filed it at some key derogatory on your credit report, and it's going to stay on there for 10 years. Whether you finish it and discharge the debt or not, just because you filed the paperwork.
Yep. It's recorded.
So don't just do stuff without knowing the long-term consequences of your actions.
Got it. Okay. Wow. This is some solid information. Friends, I do want to remind you and encourage you, you're listening to 93.5 KPPM. This is Money Matters with your Money Masters, Mrs. Carrie Goodley and Mr. Donnie Glyenn. Today we are talking about filing for bankruptcy, the do's, the don'ts, the pros, and the cons. So, if you know somebody who has been thinking about it, talking about it, any of that, tell them, hey, before you do, go listen to this show. So, just let you know, that's what we're talking about today. It's not everybody does it, but you may have a family member or a friend who says, hey, you know, I've been going through some hard times. I need to get these creditors off me.
Especially,
I'm thinking that's what I'm about to do.
It happens. You know, we're gonna see bankruptcy a lot more now because people were out of work for such long periods of time. But I always tell people, if you're thinking about filing bankruptcy, don't do it because you have medical bills or because you ran up your credit card debt. If you are in a position where you have to protect yourself from losing your house and your vehicle to get back and forth to work, then you want to consider filing bankruptcy, not for frivolous things.
Absolutely. And that's a big, commonality. A lot of people say, oh, well, you know, my wife went up a lot of medical bills and things of that nature, and, you know, we're just going to file bankruptcy because we got over $100,000 in medical debt.
Yeah.
That's not necessarily one of the key points that will say that justifies filing for bankruptcy.
Because there's a lot of ways around medical debt nowadays.
Absolutely,
Sometimes you can
absolutely.
get some of it forgiven, or you can just
Especially if
pay
you
a
have
small amount.
insurance,
Yeah, you can pay a small amount, or these hospitals, they have programs where they can forgive
Absolutely.
large amounts of debt.
And they actually have options where they can finance some stuff and get your payments to where
That's
you're
true.
able
That's
to
true.
pay them and you're
Yep.
comfortable with it. So again, guys, we're giving you this information, but we want you to know and understand that you don't always have to just jump off the bridge, just quote unquote filing for
Yes.
bankruptcy.
Yeah.
Just jump off and get that done. You want to be able to say, okay, what are my options before I get to that point?
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, friends. Well, listen, you are listening to Money Matters with your Money Masters. Mrs. Carrie Goodland, Mr. Donnie Glyenn was right here on 93.5 KPPM. And today we are talking about bankruptcy and the pros, the cons, the do's, the don'ts, what to watch out for. And let me tell y'all, one of the things we talked about off air, you got to watch out for these commercials. These commercials, they know we've been in a pandemic. They know folks have been out of work. So
Yeah.
you'll start seeing more of these commercials start to circulate saying, hey, look, I'm a bankruptcy lawyer. Come holler at me. Don't.
And they make it sound real easy.
Absolutely.
They don't tell you about the long-term effects of bankruptcy.
They just get you in.
Just get you in.
Get you
yeah,
in and-
yeah.
Wow.
They make it sound real
Yeah.
easy.
And that's tough right there. We have to. That's
But I
why
don't
we
know too many bankruptcy lawyers that's filing bankruptcy.
really.
No, because they all driving Teslas.
True.
So, what does that tell
There
you?
you go.
Yeah.
Those
Well,
cars are by order only.
Okay.
that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Well, take it away.
Yeah, absolutely. In the next phase, we're going to talk about Chapter 13, which is another common form of bankruptcy. This is the one where I misspoke earlier, but this is one where you do have you have a payment set up.
And
But
generally, people will file for this one
Mhm.
if they can't meet the means test for the Chapter 7. Because
That's
we
right.
talked about the Chapter 7 earlier. That's the one that wipes out majority of your
Yeah.
debt and you don't have to pay it.
Mhm.
But what we did not mention is that you have to actually meet a means test to be
Correct.
able to file for a Chapter 7.
Mm.
So if you make too much money or they can show where you have enough assets to
Mhm.
be able to pay for your debt, they will transition you to Chapter 13 and you'll have to pay some of that debt.
Oh.
So
Yeah.
that that's why there's different types of
Mhm.
bankruptcy.
Did not know that
Yep,
was okay.
yep.
All right.
And then
So we want to talk about the 13 now.
absolutely. And then another caveat, just understanding and knowing, try before you even get to that step, and let's say you are at the point where you have to go file bankruptcy, do your own research prior to even going there.
Mm-hmm.
Don't just go in there with a blank canvas and saying, okay, you tell me everything I need to do or everything I need to know. Make sure and you understand and know that, okay, let me research a little bit where I
Yes.
have some general basic knowledge of it. A great start would be, what is the definition of a bankruptcy?
Correct. Yes.
Learning that. Again, this show, I believe, God put this show together for us to just give you kind of like an outline of what you should know, and for you to
Right.
start doing the research yourself and understanding and knowing, okay, I can learn some of this stuff myself. I'm not always at the mercy of the bank, the lender, or the creditor. So
It's so you don't have to be so vulnerable.
yeah, absolutely, guys. We want to empower you to where you are in a position to, okay, you're not just, answering questions. You're asking questions as well. You're having a real conversation with anybody on whether it be life insurance, investments, bankruptcy, purchasing property, anything. You want to have a good knowledge to where you can have that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed.
Wow.
Absolutely.
And so you got my wheels to turn in here. So you said know that or find out the definition. Ask them the definition of the bankruptcy, and
Absolutely.
so I went and did that just now. Of course, the Webster definition comes up, but then when you go to Investopedia.com, it talks about the bankruptcy definition, and wow, it's kind of interesting. But then it goes into more. Also understanding the different types of bankruptcies, which we're doing here today.
Absolutely.
And so you have already given me some information I didn't know just by telling me to look up that definition.
And
I
how
want to
hard
encourage,
was that?
It was not.
Not hard at all.
I want to encourage you all. Definitely make sure you understand and know what it is that you're getting into, what it all entails. And like they said, one of them being the one we're about to talk about, they set up the payment plan
Yes.
to where you've got to pay.
Yeah,
you
you
know.
have to pay some of these debts. So what they'll do is if you don't qualify for a Chapter 7 and you qualify for a Chapter 13, it will wipe out a lot of debts. But what they'll do is they'll use your assets. So they'll use anything that they can liquidate. So that may be not your clothes. It wouldn't be like your primary residence.
Your shoes.
You know, it wouldn't be anything like that. But if you have multiple residences, you know, they may be able to liquidate some of that property to pay off your debts. Or if you have multiple vehicles, they're not going to take your first vehicle. But if you have like 3 or 4 cars, you know,
Absolutely.
you balling out and you got some stuff you can sell to pay off debts, they may use that, or they may use your income.
Yeah.
So what they may do is they may put you on a payment plan, and a lot of times you can pick the payment plan. So you generally have 2 options with the Chapter 13. You'll have a 3-year payment plan, which if you're under the 3-year payment plan, your payments are going to be more.
Always
Of
higher.
course.
And then you have a 5-year payment plan. So under that payment plan, the payments are lower, but it takes you longer to get out of that bankruptcy to be
That's
able to discharge it.
Got it.
And so the length of time that a Chapter 13 bankruptcy will stay on your credit is 7 years from the date that you filed it. So if you file multiple bankruptcies, it's
That is
7 years
correct.
from the date that you file each one. Or say, for instance, if you file a Chapter 13, but you do not complete it
Still on there.
because you didn't make your payments,
Right.
it's still on there.
Still
Unlike
So
the
it
other
doesn't
one.
matter.
Okay.
And it doesn't,
It doesn't
go away.
matter.
It'll stay on.
It will stay on there for 7 years. So if you file again to get back into Chapter 13 a second time, and then you finish paying it, now you have 2 bankruptcies on your credit now.
Oh,
So
wow.
you see why it's very important to understand, know what you're getting into.
Yes.
And if you do happen to go through that 13, to finish the program. Finish that
Yes.
program and stay in constant communication with your bankruptcy attorney and let them know, hey, look, times are hard. I can't make this payment right now. What are my options? You know,
Yes.
I always am under live under the fact that as long as you stay in constant communication with any debtor that you owe money to, it always makes it a little bit easier. They always have options, different plans, different programs. But the second you try to hide and avoid people that you owe money to, that's when things start getting bad for you.
Gotcha.
You know, and people are not willing to help you as much, because the last thing you want is to have to call somebody that they owe you money and you get frustrated. Think about that.
Yeah.
You know, you calling somebody that owes you money and they not answer your phone. Well, the
Yeah.
creditors are the same way. They get mad. You borrowed money from
Absolutely.
them. They want their money back.
You're absolutely right. So generally what I tell people is as long as you're in communication and you're letting them know what's going on, they will generally try to help you. But the minute they have to start looking for you, now they're frustrated and they're not willing to help
That's right.
you.
All
Wow.
bets are off.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's why, communication. I am a firm believer in communication. I believe that it is key in every relationship. And we've talked about before, when you borrow this money from any institution, you are now entering into a relationship, an agreement with
That's
them.
right.
If you say, I'm going to take this car off of your hands for this amount of sum, you have entered into a relationship with those people. And so
That's right.
just like you don't like it when your man or your woman, they start dipping and dodging and they ain't calling and returning texts,
Yep.
trust me, creditors are
They're the same way.
Yeah.
They
They
get
are
mad.
jealous girlfriends.
Yeah.
And then they start calling you at your job.
There you go.
They call
They
your
start calling
mama
you at your mama
house.
house.
And look, when they get really bad,
Yeah.
guess what they gonna do?
Show up at your house.
There you go.
Yeah, I've had all that happen. All of that happen.
You know, so
Don't like
again,
it.
guys, the communication part, James is right on it. Staying in constant communication always makes it a little bit easier. Even though it may not be as much that they can do, but they can do something.
Something.
Now, I'm not saying just
Yeah.
call people just because you can't pay. Try to pay.
Yes.
but try not to avoid people and let them know what's going on. Let them know your financial situation. Everybody knows. Everyone comes into hard times
Right.
throughout their life.
They're not
It's
expecting you to be
understandable.
perfect, but they are expecting you to be trustworthy. And so
There you
that's
go.
how you develop the trust of the institution that you're doing business with, is by making your payments on time. And when you can't, communicating. That's how you develop trust, because each time there's a phone call to that institution, there are notes made on your account.
There you go.
So whoever you talk to, that person is making notes on your account,
Yeah.
notations. So
Yeah.
the institution knows what happened on that phone call, and generally the phone calls are all recorded. So
Yeah.
if you're communicating, they know if you're doing so or not.
Right. The one thing that bothers me is when I have made those phone calls and I've like maybe it's my last payment or two and I'm like, all right, I need y'all to clear this off. It doesn't get cleared off. I've had to call back and they well, I don't see any record of you. No. Go back and check the tapes.
Check them notes.
check the recording.
And then they go back and they check. Oh, we found it. Yeah. I know. Now let's get that off my credit. But that's a side note that I guess it's here but not there.
Again, too. Just because you pay it off, that not always just releases the relationship. You still want to make sure you do your due diligence, and not just say, okay, I paid it off, whether it be a debt or my bankruptcy or whatever. I'm gonna just trust them that it's all done. Still, you are responsible for your own credit as well.
Yes.
So make sure you stay in constant communication and make sure you follow up as much as needed until you have infinite, finite saying, oh, it is done, it is canceled.
Yeah. Right. And let me also add this while we're talking about it. It's good that the institution or the bankruptcy people are taking notes during your phone calls, but I've learned it's also important that you take notes. And I was about to say that.
And
say, wait, who is that you're talking to? Ask those questions. It's so very important.
Everyone
write it
has
down.
An employee number. They all have like representative numbers, employee numbers, things like that. So whenever you call, make sure you get that number so you can reference it and say, because a lot of times when you call, you're not going to get the same person each time. Yeah. So that person can look under your notations and see that ID number of that person that you gave and see what notations that they put in for you.
Absolutely. And I want to encourage us, it's so very important that we're not trying to tell you, hey, just absolutely don't file for bankruptcy. If you need to file, then file. But at the same time, know that even preceding bankruptcy, you have options. There are things you can try to do,
right?
And just use bankruptcy, in my opinion. And of course, you guys are y'all are professionals at this. I'm just a person who's had some experience in this realm. It's best if you can avoid it. Try. If not, you do what you have to do.
Right, because the bankruptcy laws are there to protect consumers that do get overwhelmed with debt, but you have to be responsible with those laws because there are repercussions to every action. So it is so important for people to know that, hey, if you do have to file for bankruptcy, do what you gotta do, but it is not something that should be taken lightly. Never oh, I did too much shopping, I can't pay my credit card bills, now I'm just gonna file for bankruptcy and it'll be fine, because that will follow you for a long period of time. Even with the Chapter 13 bankruptcy, when you pay your creditors off through that payment plan, it will say there will be a notation under each account that was included in that bankruptcy on your credit report. It will say involved in a repayment plan. It will say Chapter 13 bankruptcy repayment plan or WEP repayment plan or something of that nature. So even though the account has a zero balance, anybody that looks at your credit report is going to be able to tell that account was discharged through bankruptcy.
And that's when you got to do some explain.
So they will know. It's not just going to show bankruptcy on your credit report. It's going to show the bankruptcy and each account that was affected or discharged through that bankruptcy.
Oh, okay. So it gets that detailed.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely. Yes.
Now they want to go through everything with fine-tooth comb.
Absolutely.
That's when your underwriters are like, okay, well, they had a credit card from Sears, they had a Discover credit card, they had this, and that, but they're applying for another credit card with my bank.
So do I want to take that risk?
There you go.
Got it. Okay.
So again, if you have to go under those bankruptcy protection laws, do what you got to do, but you also need to know how it will affect you long term. 7 years and 10 years is a very long time.
I mean, a lot can happen in 7 to 10 years anyway.
I mean, you're looking at, you take yourself as a 35-year-old, person, you're looking at 45 before that stuff is off, and at that point, you're like, man,
that's a long time.
Or even if you're 25 or 28, going into your 38, 39 years old, that's a long time, and where you should be getting started and getting situated, you have to start back over. You know, you've been renting that whole time instead of purchasing a house.
Wow.
You know, things of that nature. So it's way deeper than that, than just saying, oh, I'm gonna get rid of a bunch of debt and have, you know, some free payment free money available. So yeah, definitely pay attention to all that stuff.
Absolutely, absolutely. And friends, we're going to talk about a little bit more about this bankruptcy thing, but I want us to go a little bit deeper and to talk about the different things that may or may not be able to be used as assets, charged off, or whatever the case may be. So back here on Money Matters with your money masters, Mr. Donnie Glyenn and Mrs. Carrie Goodley. Now, just in case somebody so far they're like, man, these people really know their stuff and I want to get to know them and whatever. This is not necessarily the space for that. However, this is
my DMs.
I don't even check mine. I do not check my DMs. My assistant check mine.
See, but you are a business owner, and they can at least get to know your business.
Yes.
So if nothing else, let's throw that information out there, and then if they want to be like me and get all of this great content and quotes that you put out there, let them know how they can follow you.
That's your new
shirt. I'm the queen.
Queen. Look at that. Drop in them gems.
That'll work.
I might self-publish me a quote book or something like that with my Carrie-ism. Somebody did ask me to do that.
Carrie-ism.
My Carrie-ism.
There's an idea. See, guys, there's always an idea for a business.
Yeah.
You should never, ever. And you know what? People gonna buy it. I promise you.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna promote it too.
Yeah,
so
for sure. So you can find me on Facebook. My name is Carrie Goodley. I also have a business page. I don't really post a lot on there, but you can contact me for business stuff there. It's Goodley and Associates Consulting, and I'm also on Instagram under C Goodley CEO.
That'll work. And in case you're wondering, like, what type of things does Carrie post? Listen. She posted this one day ago. It said, "Whoever counted you out can't count."
Sure
can't count.
Not on their hands.
All they
fingers and
toes.
toes.
I love that. I really do. I love that one. So I wanted to share that with y'all. So make sure y'all go and follow Carrie Goodley. And DG, if they want to find you, my man, how can they find you?
You can find me on Facebook under Donnie Glyenn. But guys, also go check out some of my business pages.
Please.
I have Biking Through the Lake. Try not to promote that as much, but on the radio station. But Biking Through the Lake is great. We also have BME, and we also have a new business venture that we're going to pop up here soon. So little therapy session for some people. So
yeah. That one.
We're gonna,
I'm excited about that.
Yeah,
I need that.
Yeah, we'll be making that announcement real soon. So it's starting to pull together real soon. So that one I'm really excited about. But the biking, the weather is great. So if you guys want to book private bike rides, give us a call. The neon night lights, great fun, great atmosphere. And BME has a new networking event that will be coming out in June as well. I know if you follow my Facebook page, you start seeing the videos.
Love some good videos, quality,
dropping. So we got some new stuff coming up soon. So
my outfit ready.
That's right, black suit ready.
That'll work.
So it's fun, and then on Instagram you can hit me up on DG_prolific. I just post some fun stuff, happy stuff. Controversial stuff.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I enjoy it.
We like the kid and have fun.
Absolutely. And I want to encourage y'all to support black businesses, support these young black entrepreneurs.
That's right.
Biking Through the Lake, I'm currently setting up my own private little bike thing with some of my friends. So I want y'all to support black businesses. And I ain't asked for no discounts just because I know DG. No.
Yeah, you got to pay.
I'm going to hook it up, So
pay.
Y'all go ahead and support black businesses, all right?
That's right.
All right, friends. Well, speaking of black businesses or just businesses, period, right? We are talking about bankruptcy, and that may be one of those things that hinders you from starting that business that you've always had, that business that has been in your mind. And so we're going to talk a little bit more about bankruptcy, tie a bow on it, and let's talk about just, what can we charge to our bankruptcy?
Mm-hmm.
What can't we charge? And what are some of the questions maybe that we need to ask before we consider? Maybe there's some questions we ask ourselves before we really just say, I'm going to go do bankruptcy. Maybe that, so let's start there.
So there are a few significant debts that you cannot discharge. And I think the main one that people need to know, because a lot of people have a significant amount of student loan debt. So they rack up these student loans and they're like, oh my God, I cannot afford to pay these.
Right.
And the job that I have, that I got the student loans for, that I went to school for, is not providing me enough income to pay these. Student loans is actually one of those debts that cannot be discharged through bankruptcy, because typically most student loans are federally funded. So you cannot discharge a debt that you owe to the government.
That's correct.
And a lot of people will file for that reason, and the lawyer doesn't tell them that student loans are not included.
That is correct.
And that it's so unfortunate. So I really want people to know that you cannot include your student loans in your bankruptcy.
Absolutely. And real quickly, somebody may be saying, well, what does it mean to discharge the debt? Let me help you understand. When they say discharge, it means that you are no longer responsible for repaying the debt, and the creditor can no longer attempt to collect that from you.
Yes.
Certain debts, however, are not eligible for discharge. That's what Ms. Carrie Goodley has been talking about.
Right.
And some can be discharged only in rare cases. Now, the question that I have is, can I pick and choose which ones I want my lawyer to discharge, or is it completely up to the lawyer?
Yeah,
you can
pick and choose which ones you want. Obviously, you would pick the ones that will be more beneficial, that will free up the most money per month for you. But you definitely have that choice to say, okay, well, if I only owe $300 left on this Visa or MasterCard, it wouldn't make sense.
I'm not going to discharge that, because you still want to be able to use it.
Absolutely.
Right?
So,
once
you
discharge that debt, that account is closed, and you don't have access to that line of credit no more. You can't owe me money
and then come back
and then get it forgiven and then come and ask me for some more. No, it wasn't a grant. This was a loan.
Absolutely.
You owe me.
Absolutely. And think about this, guys. We've been talking about establishing credit and building credit over time. Think about if you've had a credit card for 10 or 15 years. That's an established trade line.
I'm not including that in my bankruptcy.
That is an established trade line.
No way.
You have $2,000 or $3,000 limit on that thing. You always go travel, shop, and everything. Don't put this is free. You don't have to pay for this. Don't put that one in your bankruptcy.
Free game.
Yeah. Don't put that one in there, because that is, once you get out of this process, you at least want to have something that shows okay, you at least have this as an established trade line, and you're able to keep up with it.
Got it.
So long story short, every qualified debt on your credit report is not automatically included in your bankruptcy. You or your attorney will come to an agreement, like, this is what debts we want to include, and whichever ones that are not included, those are not dischargeable.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
So those do not get discharged.
Got it. Okay. And so you said there are some that are not dischargeable.
Correct.
Yes.
And so let's kind of.
I got a big one.
Yeah, go ahead.
Child support and alimony.
That's
you
right.
cannot discharge your child support and alimony.
That's
not
right.
happening. You owe that.
Yeah, and why would you? That's just
you
me.
owe
Why
that
would
parent.
Sorry. Well, whatever reason it didn't work out, but you still have a child to take care of and support.
Absolutely.
And you owe that money.
Step up to your obligations. Whether you feel like it's fair or not, you get an attorney and you go through that process. But don't just say, I'm going to just throw my child support in my bankruptcy.
Well, you can't.
You can't.
You don't have the option to do that. But don't file bankruptcy thinking that you can, because you cannot.
Right.
You'll be sadly mistaken.
And also, too, guys, think about this, too. Another situation where, let's say you have a debt and you have a spouse or a partner and that person passes away, you can't put that debt in there as well. For somebody that passed away, putting somebody in, somebody passed away.
And you're trying to pay for the funeral and all that.
Not necessarily for the funeral, but just
their debt.
Their debt.
Unless it's a joint.
Unless
it's joint debt that you hold together.
Yeah.
So you could do it if it was joint debt.
But you can't just say.
So they had like debt before.
Absolutely.
You got married or something.
Like if you shared a car or something like that, and you're trying to keep the car from getting repoed, which I don't know if if somebody died and they had a car and I had a car, I'm not trying to keep their car.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm just gonna let it go back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
So it's a lot of different things, different aspects of it. But again, a lot of this can be avoided and can be handled by having the right conversations.
Yes.
Not just going in there and sitting down saying yes or no.
Yes.
Have the conversations.
Ask probing questions
Absolutely.
too.
one of the things that I found interesting on here is I cannot discharge a debt that was caused to another person by a personal injury
correct.
Yes.
Correct.
from a car wreck or
Or if
something
someone
like
comes
that.
on your property and they get hurt and they sue you and now they obtain a judgment against you,
You can't charge that out.
you can't
Or
discharge
discharge
that
that out, yeah.
through bankruptcy. In many cases,
Wow.
you cannot.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
And even if you get behind on your taxes
That's
and
correct.
you owe
I
a
was
large
gonna say,
tax bill, you cannot discharge your taxes through bankruptcy because again,
Jeez.
that's a government debt.
It's
Yeah.
government debt.
They don't allow you to do that.
Yeah.
And in addition to child support, if you have attorney's fees for
Mhm.
child support or like child custody or anything like
That's
that,
correct.
you can't discharge that.
Mm.
And criminal restitution. So say for instance, if somebody commits fraud, like a lot of people with the PPP loans.
Mhm.
Mm.
And they have to, or
Speak
you know,
on
if
it.
if they do like a Ponzi scheme or something, and you have to pay restitution to the people that you stole money from,
Yep.
Goodness
you
gracious.
cannot file bankruptcy and expect to include that and be able to discharge that debt through your bankruptcy. No, you owe that and you gotta pay it.
And
So you can file the bankruptcy, but it ain't coming off. You
it's
still
not
owe
gonna-
that.
So
Yeah.
you just pretty much washed everything. And you
Yes.
still gotta pay it. So
Yes. So
uh,
stuff like that, taxes, child support, student loans,
Mhm.
court costs, fines, restitution, attorney's fees, personal injury,
Yeah.
or if you owe like fines and penalties to the government. So if you committed PPP fraud and you have to pay a fine and do jail time, when you come out of jail, you still owe the fine.
Still got money.
God damn.
Can't file-
Can't wipe that off with bankruptcy either.
Goodness.
So you see how all of this, again, everything ties into what we've been talking about.
Yes.
Yeah.
This whole financial picture that we're painting for you guys,
It all works together.
it's
literally.
like a puzzle.
Yes.
It literally is a puzzle piece that we're just piecing together for you guys to make the better picture for you for your financial future. So
And
again,
to kind of show you how to move and do
absolutely,
things the
maneuver through
right
this thing,
way.
because it's a lot, but it's not a unaccomplishable goal.
Yeah,
if,
right.
if,
Yeah.
if you follow me, meaning you can do certain things. Again, if you get off track, here's how you can get back on track.
Right,
You
correct.
know, different ways of that nature. So it's different options, different elements. But all in all, again, everything still works as a cohesive unit. To where, okay, if I file bankruptcy, if I can't file bankruptcy, if I gotta pay off debt, if I can't get out of it, it all goes together.
Right.
But again, having the conversations, having the courage, first and foremost, to have that conversation,
Mm-hmm.
whether it be with one of your peers who is a professional in that realm, or whether it be with a professional that you sought out, just get comfortable with having those conversations.
Got it. Got it. So what I'm understanding, and I'm just trying to make sure I have a central theme here to kind of resonate with the people. Bankruptcy really should sort of be my last option.
Absolutely.
It is absolute last thing.
Yes. It is not something that you do frivolously.
It's not fun.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not for fun.
And if I should have to file bankruptcy, let me just say it, I guess, this way. If I should have to file for bankruptcy, ask as many questions, get as much understanding.
Yes.
As the Bible says, get wisdom, get understanding, and in
Yes.
all thy
That's
getting.
Because
get
at the end of the
understanding.
day, you have to know the pros and the cons, the consequences and the rewards, and make an informed decision based on that and how it will affect you long term.
That's
Yeah.
correct.
So
Yeah.
if the reward of filing a bankruptcy outweighs the long-term consequences for you, then yeah, that is your last resort and it works for you. But if the reward does not outweigh the consequences, if the consequences are going to be too much, or if you're just doing it for a frivolous reason, then it's not worth it. But at least do it by making an informed decision. Don't just let the lawyer talk you into, oh, this is easy, I can I can go ahead and file this for you.
Easy for you to file,
Yeah.
but not
Yeah.
easy for you to get out of.
Yeah.
Right,
Once you're
right.
in there, it's essentially attributed as going to jail.
Okay, that's one
Once
way to
you
look
put
at
it on your record, it's on there. And you have to pay a
Okay.
lot of money to get it off.
Okay.
Yes.
And you have to do some time, depending on the crime.
So remember, we said earlier, just because you file, that is going on your financial record. Even
That's
if you
right.
don't finish the
That's
bankruptcy or discharge any debt,
That's correct.
once you file it with the court, if you pay that attorney and say, I want to file it, and then they go to the courthouse and file it,
Mm-hmm.
and that's on record, and then you come back and say, I don't want to do this, it
Mm-mm.
don't matter.
Mm-mm.
You now have a bankruptcy on your record.
That's right.
Wow. Okay.
Whether you completed it or
Do not file unless you really intend to.
Wow. Wow. Friends, I'm telling you, this is some solid information. I mean, I say this all the time. These guys are dropping these ladies, the guy, this lady, this guy. These people
These money
are
masters.
dropping the gems for you. They're laying it out on the line. And so, friends, we're going to take just a quick break. But when we come back, I feel like this entire show has been a Money Matters tip of the week. But, we'll see if we have one when we come right back, right here on Money Matters with your Money Masters, Mrs. Carrie Goodley and Mr. Donnie Glyenn. Keep it live. All right, friends. Boy, I tell you, I absolutely enjoy what it is that I do, and I enjoy this show. This show
good time
is absolutely phenomenal, and I've got a great group of money masters who, y'all are prolific to borrow from you, brother.
Trying, man.
Yeah.
Trying.
Well, friends, it is time. It is time for our Money Matters tip of the week. And your Money Matters tip of the week is brought to you by InvestStar Bank, where we believe in banking brilliantly. InvestStar Bank has 2 locations to serve you, one on Country Club Road here in the great city of Lake Charles, and one in Westlake. So why don't you check them out online at www.investarbank.com or give them a call.
337-656-6195.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
That's all you looking for.
I should have had it ready before we
it's all
started.
good.
But,
That's my direct line.
so now it's time for our Money Matters tip of the week. Money Masters, take it away.
All right, great guys. Listen, I know we've been talking about bankruptcy and the do's and don'ts and things of that nature, but we've all just been discussing it off air, just talking about if you get to that point to where you're going to file bankruptcy and you're in the point to where you think, and we have an inside running joke right now, so excuse me, but if you feel like you're getting ready to file bankruptcy, try this option. Try creating a debt stacking program, creating a debt elimination program to where you can reduce some of your spending on a monthly basis. Try to eliminate some of the frivolous spending, of the eating out, the unnecessary entertainment, the shopping trips and vacations. Try to eliminate some of the things that you can go without to free up some monthly income to where you can pay on some debts. You start your debt stacking. You start paying off one debt, start going to the next creditor, start going to the next creditor, so forth and so on. But you also are in constant communication with the people. So essentially, guys, try to eliminate your debt yourself.
Yeah.
Try it all to eliminate
huge.
your debt yourself and see how much more rewarding it will be, because once you get yourself out of a hole, you're not going to let nobody else push you in it.
Come on now.
And I literally had to do that. So I remember how I got started in this whole credit repair thing was I went through a big financial hardship. That's one of the things that business owners don't tell you. On my first business, I didn't make any money, so I wasn't able to pay myself. So a lot of my debt went into default, and I started out with a 475 credit score. I had a lot of debt. I was missing payments on my car. I had a judgment against me. I was having credit cards get charged off. I had a house that was going into foreclosure. And I thought about filing bankruptcy because all those things are, it was a huge weight on my shoulders. And I literally dug myself out of that hole without having to file bankruptcy. I started making payments with all of my creditors, and now here I am years later, all of my bills are on auto pay because I made a budget and I stuck to it. So that is really the thing. Create a budget and try to stick to it. Just because you fall behind a little bit doesn't mean you have to file
That's
for
right.
bankruptcy.
That's right.
You can literally dig yourself out of that hole. It ain't too much coming back from a house that's going into foreclosure.
It's
Yeah.
a lot, you know.
Yeah.
So there are multiple stories of different motivation that you can pull from. You know, you can get on YouTube and look at different success stories
Yes.
and
Yeah.
imagine yourself in those situations.
Listen, if I can come back from a 475 and you see my credit, I got some good credit. I had it doesn't embarrass me to say that, because the only thing embarrassing about being in a financial situation like that is not having the fight in you
That's right.
to bring yourself out of it. So I'm not ashamed to say that I had a 475 credit. That's like so poor. I couldn't buy Cheetos on credit,
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah.
And now my life is completely turned around because I had that fight in me, and because I'm already so stubborn, I just refused to file.
That's right.
Because to me, that would have been giving in.
That's
Yeah.
right.
I
Yeah.
refused to give in, and I fought and clawed and dug myself out of that hole, and you really can do it.
Yeah.
That's right.
Friends, you don't know what I just learned, or what I figure from this moment is, Miss Goodley was saying that one of the things she did, she fought her way out of it, right? What I've learned in this moment, and what I want to encourage all of us is that, listen, you can do it. There is nothing that is impossible if we are just have this mindset of just putting a budget together, working it out. And what really struck me is that if you had filed bankruptcy, we wouldn't have Money Matters. We wouldn't have Goodley and Associates.
There would be that testimony would not be there.
I mean, because
That's right.
Yeah.
that it's been like what? I mean, you would have been 10 years or 7 years trying to dig out of that hole. What you did in, I mean, probably less than a couple of years, or I don't know how long you did.
This was back in 2015, so it's been it's been a while now.
Right, but
It's been
I
6
mean,
years.
that would have
6
set
years.
you. That
Look
would
at
have
the time
set you
frame,
back.
though.
Yeah.
Look at the time frame. 6 years from doing that, and 6 years from you would still be in the situation. you know?
Yeah, I would still be in that situation.
Absolutely.
And I cleaned my credit up way before now.
Yeah.
It didn't take me 6 years to get to this point, but it's been 6 years since I've had
Since you made that decision.
since
That's right.
I've been in that situation.
And it's just amazing how one decision, one choice to say, "Oh, I'm just going to file for bankruptcy."
Yeah.
It could change the whole trajectory. I mean, she is a business owner. Her daughter is now a business owner,
Yeah.
and they have great credit, and
Yeah. We
can
really
go
do, and it's not to brag, but we have to fight for that.
That's right.
Yeah,
We really did.
and it wouldn't have been possible if they had just given in, and said, or if Carrie had started off and set the example
That's right.
for her daughter of saying, I'm gonna just go file bankruptcy.
yeah.
But her daughter has seen her mother fight her way back from having a business that went, I guess belly up would be a better
Yeah.
way to say
Literally.
it. Yeah. To, all of these things that Carrie talked about, to now saying, oh, you can reach me at Goodley and Associates,
right.
and I am the CEO, and you
Yeah.
gotta pay for my time, and
That's right.
boom.
Yeah, and there's a sense of pride that comes with that.
It should
Through all
be.
that,
It should be.
through all that hands-on learning, there is experience that was gathered there. And I tell people all the time, the reason I'm not ashamed is because God knew where I was going to be in every step of my life. He knew I was going to be here counseling people through not so good credit. So I had to go through what they are going through to be able to
That's good.
empathize
That's right. Ooh, that's
with
good.
people like that. So that is why I'm not ashamed to say it, because
That's
I had to
good.
go through that storm, because I deal with a lot of people that's going
That's
through
right.
that storm right now.
So you understand. and
So
know
I can
firsthand.
understand how it works, and the emotion and the feeling and the gravity and the weight that they feel from that,
That's right.
because I had to deal with it.
That's dope.
That's right. Guys, again, there are so many testimonials and so many just instances and examples that you can pull from. But understand and know this. You can always create your own testimony.
Yeah.
And you can always create your own way once you make that decision. Once you make that decision, everything else will fall into place. But you have to make a decision, and you have to let your body and your mind know that this is finite. This is final. I'm going through with this. I'm going to either fix this, I'm going to get help, start the plan, etc., etc. So again, guys, we're just giving you the information, trying to help you make the best informed decision for you and your family's financial picture, and hopefully we've been able to do that.
Informed decision, not to tell you what to do, but just be informed about what you're gonna do.
That's right.
That'll work. I'm so glad that I met you guys. I mean, I met Carrie, didn't know who she was, what she did. We just played basketball together because of Mr. Donnie Glyenn. And here we all are.
Business owners versus ballers.
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't really play. I just was like,
you got a shot in.
I got a shot in.
Yeah.
Missed.
That's right.
Man, wow. So listen, I'm telling y'all, you never know how your life can change by just one decision. And so Money Masters, let me say, I'm glad that I made the decision to play in that game.
That's right.
Yeah.
It made a point for me to.
I mean, you did the commercial for that.
Yeah.
You did the commercial.
So,
Yeah, we did the smack talking here too.
Oh,
yeah, on Mark
I
Duffy's
was like,
show.
oh yeah.
Oh yeah, it was
I was listening to that show. You talked some big
I talked
trash.
a lot of smack, didn't back up none of it.
Yeah.
I have some of that video. I was going to post it as a Throwback Thursday too.
Oh well, yeah.
I'd say
Yeah.
we won though. We won.
We did.
We won the game.
I
We
hit
won
me
the
a
game.
three in that
I
game and
thought we was gonna
everything.
get our
Yeah.
butts whooped.
the year that we did it before, we didn't win. I think they scored 100 points on us.
Probably.
Goodness gracious. Wow. Friends, listen, we could sit here and talk all night
All
long.
day.
But let me just say, Money Masters, thank y'all so much.
Thank you.
And
Appreciate
before
you.
we close out, I cannot close out without giving y'all another opportunity to let folks know how they can find your businesses and how they can find you online and get your follows up.
Well, you can find me on Facebook under
right.
Carrie Goodley. I also have a business page, Glyenn Associates Consulting, and I'm on Instagram as C Goodley CEO.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. And if you're looking to find me, again, inside joke.
I was about to give you the zoom in and everything, brother.
You can find me on Facebook under Donnie Glyenn, Glyenn, or you can find me on Instagram, DG_prolific. Check out the business page, being me. Check out the business page for Biking Through the Lake. Y'all give us a shout.
Absolutely. And if you want to follow Miss Goodley, she always has, great quotes, posts. Here's another one from her. It says, kill them with success and bury them with a smile. All right. And then if you want to follow Mr. Glynn, listen, when I want to get my toxic post on, listen.
I've been quiet lately.
He has.
Are you in trouble or
No,
something?
I've been working on other stuff, the videos and editing
yeah.
and stuff. But just know this, if she drive a Honda Accord,
That's all I used to drive.
a Kia, an Altima, 9 times out of 10.
No, an Impala.
Oh yeah, an Impala with the steering wheel cover and the fuzzy fur
The pink
around
fur.
it. She's probably toxic.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. See that? I love it. That's what you'll get on his page. I love it. I mean, hey, he even did a post. This is one of the ones I liked recently. He did King Kong versus Godzilla, and then he said it was better than Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, absolutely.
Then told people, argue with your mama, not me.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it because I was gonna argue with him, but
Yeah, man, King Kong.
I haven't watched Mortal Kombat yet, so I don't have a dog
It's
in
not
that
as
fight.
good.
Okay. And then, of course, if you want to find me on social media, I am on everything as James W. Chavis, with the exception of TikTok. On TikTok, you can find me as I'm Taller Than You. All right.
That's right.
In addition to that, I do have a book out. Let me just throw that. I've never said that before on here, but I do have a book out. It's called Dreaming Big Dreams While Living in a Small World. You can find that on Amazon or just Google James W. Chavis, and you will get a copy of that book. I'm working on my second book to be out in November, so support me. All right.
Will do.
All right, there you go, people.
Did not know that.
Well,
Buying it now.
Money Matters, Money Masters. Thank y'all so much. I appreciate y'all.
Appreciate you.
Yeah, y'all are phenomenal. Y'all made this show very informative today. Thank y'all today. So, there you have it.
There you go.
All right.